What's going on, everybody? Welcome to our Week 9 Sunday review and Monday. But before we get to that, I wanted to give a shout out to two Bristol, Connecticut athletes that are actually doing really well in college sports. Victor Rosa went to UConn. They both actually went to UConn. Victor Rosa plays for them, and Dominic Klingen. Rosa has 6 touchdowns on the season and actually put up a 2-touchdown game.
Both from Central High School.
Yeah, Bristol Central High School.
Yep.
And Rosa just had the last game. He had 87 yards and 2 touchdowns, so that's a very good game. He's having a very good freshman year. And Donovan Klingen, in his first basketball game at UConn, had 19 minutes played with 9 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 blocks. So that was a good debut for his first ever college game.
Yep.
It's good to see Bristol Central athletes doing well in college ball.
It's good to see Bristol anybody doing well anywhere. So it's nice to give a shout out to the local guys. Keep your head up. Keep going. Try to make a name for yourself. Kind of a race what Aaron Hernandez did for Sport-Town. But moving on from that onto the bigger stage here, we have our Sunday preview, and our first game on the Sunday pick here was our Indy-New England game. New England won this one. This one was a little bit. If you're an Indy fan, which it was probably pretty hard to watch. I know you're trying to find the positives in it, but
Well, it was a tale of two stories. It was our defense played really well.
Yeah,
The Colts defense kept them in the Colts in the game for the entirety of the game, but the offense looked one of the worst offensive performances I've seen from any team this season.
Terrible. It was pretty bad. It was one of these situations where Englander had probably one of the worst stat lines. He did complete 15 passes, which makes it a little better than what happened over in Tennessee. But at the same time, he only threw for 103 yards. He had a pick. He looked pretty bad. He was also their leading rusher.
But the result
with only 39 yards, so they were obviously missing Jonathan Taylor in this game as well. So
the score result of that game was 26-3 New England.
Yeah,
but the real result in that game was
you guys got a new head coach.
Yeah, Jim Irsay's had enough of Frank Reich. He let him go.
Yep.
We let the offensive coordinator go the week before. We brought in Jeff Saturday, longtime Colts center and Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion, who will now be the interim head coach for the Colts. And
I'm excited for you guys for this. I like Jeff Saturday. I love him as a player. He's one of the greatest all-time linemen. I'm really interested to see how his playing mind transfers over to his coaching ability. But I think, again, it's a good move for you guys no matter what, because something had to change. I don't know. Obviously, the problems are deeper than just a quarterback over there. So.
Well, with Jeff Saturday, what I'm excited to see is I want to see how he approaches this head coaching job, because he's never been a college coach or a head coach or even a coach at the NFL level. So I'm interested to see if he's just going to come out and try and put his playing days experience on these players, or if he's going to come out and just try and get them to play hard, try and get them motivated, because he was a captain. The guy's a leader. He was a captain for the Colts pretty much every year he played for them.
Oh, yeah.
And he knows how to get people behind him. So I'm interested to see just what kind of approach he takes to coaching as he steps into his first real head coaching role.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I'm surprised that they went with him. He's the guy they came up with. But, again, longtime Colt. He kept Peyton Manning upright for a long time. He's one of the rock-solid guys. He's a Pro Bowl player every year. I'm really excited for you guys to see what he can do. I'm more excited to see him as a coach and see what they can get out of him. So we'll see moving forward. It is mid-season, so they still have 8 games to play after this, and there's still a lot of room for a lot of ups and downs, a lot of teams to move. Nobody's.
Other than that, New England's 5-4, and you guys are in one of the most competitive divisions in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So.
In a game where Mac Jones really didn't play that well, but he played good enough to keep them in the lead. Give them the win. But not a lot of standouts offensively on either side of the ball, really.
It was a defensive show.
Yeah, it was kind of it was a quiet offensive game, but
next game on the day was the Chargers against Atlanta.
Yeah.
Atlanta had a really strong first quarter in this game, and then it seemed to slow down. Chargers just kind of slow and steadied them, and they ended up winning 20-17.
Yeah, we got out early 10-0, and then they scored. They got up. They scored twice right before halftime. Took the lead, and then we just kind of. The fourth quarter was one of those. It was a real stressful, like a lot of the Falcons games are. The fourth quarter was real stressful. We were up, we were down, we were tied. It was. Koo missed a late field goal, which he very rarely ever does, and that would have put us in the lead. And it wound up eventually costing us the game because we lost by 20-17. They kicked a field goal with 9 seconds left on the clock. They were pretty much able to eat up the rest of the clock towards the end of the game there. And it's a shame, but we fall to 4-5, but we still are tied with Tampa Bay because they won. You'll hear about that later on in the segment. They won as well, so that they moved up. We stay where we are, and we wind up still tied with them for the division lead down in the South. It's going to be one of those. I think we might be able to go back and forth with Tampa Bay where they're at offensively. So we're playing for a division spot, really, because that's our best chance of getting into the playoffs. So keep on going. I mean, we had some. The offense looked okay at times. Mariota had a kind of mediocre week.
Austin Eckler scored another touchdown this week. He's having a huge season. And they needed out of him because the Chargers have been down a lot of receivers this year.
Eckler had 2 touchdowns, either receiving and rushing.
So yeah, Eckler's been able to pick up a lot of the slack from all the injuries that the Chargers are facing. And with the amount of injuries to their skill positions, they're actually putting together a pretty good season. They're 5-3 this year. So
and we did have Patterson come back this week in his return finally. He had 13 carries for 144. I mean, not 144, I apologize. 13 carries for 44 and 2 touchdowns. And then you had Algiers actually lead the team in rushing with 10 carries for 99 yards. He just didn't see the pay dirt. That was kind of Patterson's reward for being back in the game. He also had a really deep run that was called back in the game that would have actually really had to increase his stat line quite noticeably. But again, nice to see him back on the field as a fan. It's nice to see, again, we had this one down to the grind, and we'll see next week. We have a chance to get back to 500 playing Carolina on Thursday night, so we'll see what happens. But our next game on the docket here was Miami-Chicago. This game was actually way more exciting than I was expecting. I think Keith actually thought this one was going to be a little kind of the way it was, you had the final on this one. Miami wound up taking it, late 35-32. Chicago.
This was kind of the game I saw. Was prepared for. Chicago just got rid of a few of their key pieces on defense, and Justin Fields and that offense have been looking really good over the past 3-4 weeks.
You can only wonder if they were still playing, if they were still in Chicago, if they would have taken this game, because this is one of those games. Again, it was a shootout. And they were both firing really well. Fields, I think, had one of the best stat lines of the game of the week. Fantasy-wise, if you had him, he killed it. He killed it. But he went 17 for 28. But he for 123, 3 touchdowns. But he also rushed 17 times for 178 yards.
Broke the record for most rushing yards by a quarterback in the game.
And a touchdown. So. He put 4 touchdowns on the board this week. He did his job. Joe Mixon. Oh no, this is a different game. I'm looking at different stat line.
But still, that Miami still was able to come out and win the game. I didn't think. I knew they could put up the points, but I thought Chicago was going to be able to outscore Miami in this game. But since every game Tua has played, Miami's offense has looked fantastic.
Tua had a great week. 21-30. He had 302 yards for 3 touchdowns. Well, Miami was, solid. They were doing their thing.
Do you think Miami with Tua at quarterback is the best offense in the NFL? They've got the number 1 receiver in Tyreek Hill as far as stats go this year.
That's tough.
And Tua's got nothing but remarkable stats.
It's tough because, the stats over in Kansas City are pretty tough to argue with. And then, Allen's numbers are really good throughout the season so far, too. But I think Kansas City's probably, again, another one of those offenses that might be right up there with these guys. They could probably go bout for bout with these guys. But other than that, there's probably not too many. Miami's, they're exciting definitely to watch right now. And it's good for them because it hasn't been for a long time. Again, Buffalo's possibility. Buffalo doesn't have their backfield's coming around. They have their committee works really well over there. If you enjoy watching that kind of stuff, I like watching these teams with these. I like watching the Derrick Henrys. The guys who get in there and you get to watch these guys go out there and just beat a team down for 150 yards every week. Instead of 5 guys who all get 40 yards and then 1 guy who gets like 70. It is what it is. But either way, there was some good shit going on in that game. Waddle and Hill had 7 for 143 and a touchdown. Waddle had 5 for 185 and a touchdown.
Just 85.
Yeah. I did say 185.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. Again, 5 for 85 and a touchdown.
So we got to see that Waddle dance again.
Yeah, these guys are both in the top 5 in receiving this year on the season, and they're not going anywhere. So I mean, they're able to maintain their status even with Tua out. So there's not much that's going to affect them, barring any injuries.
And the newly acquired Jeff Wilson came in. He got just as many carries as Raheem Mostert. They both split the backfield work with 9 carries. But Jeff Wilson outperformed him. He was able to put up 50 yards on 9 carries, although Mostert was able to get in the
Mostert was the goal line
into
guy.
the end zone.
Yeah, he kept his fantasy numbers up there by putting in a touchdown on the ground. But and as far as that goes, I mean that's pretty much the game there. I mean it was a good game. There wasn't Chicago. Nobody really stood out. It had crazy receiving stat lines. It was spread out pretty well, and there wasn't a lot of passing. Again, Fields was just all over the ball, ground rushing with the ball. So it was a fun game to watch. You saw some of that athleticism you saw out of him in college. That to me made him kind of my number one. I thought he was the best quarterback and most athletic quarterback in that draft. This is one of those games where we really got to showcase it. But
the next game was Carolina at Cincinnati, and this game was just ugly for Carolina. It was the first time they really looked like that team that just fire sailed. Cincinnati was all over them. Joe Mixon is the real guy to talk about in this game. Joe Mixon went out and had 4 rushing touchdowns and a receiving touchdown.
Yeah, I was going to say before, Mixon was probably the only guy who gave Fields a run for his money on the, him and Mahomes had a really good week, but Mixon's stat line was disgusting. 22 carries for 153 and 4 touchdowns, 4 catches for 58 and another touchdown. He put up 5 touchdowns in this game. He counted for pretty much all the offense. I mean, it was...
It's what they needed.
If you got to watch it, dude, it was pretty exciting. These guys... it was just a Joe Mixon show, really. I mean, that's what it came down to. Carolina looked terrible. They pulled Walker in the second. Mayfield was able to come out and put some points on the board. He had an okay stat line. He put 21 points. They put 21 points up with him in the game. But it was at the point where the game was pretty much lost. I don't think there was much coming back. But Walker had 3 picks at that point. He was just... it was bad.
So as far as Cincinnati's concerned, I think they just need to find a little more consistency. There's been games this year where they look really good, then there's been games where they look really bad.
Up and down.
They need to find a way to just even this season out and string together wins.
Mm-hmm.
The next game was this was a real heartbreaker for a team that's been really good for a long time, but it's pretty much the nail in the coffin on their season, if you ask me. It's going to be Green Bay at Detroit, where Detroit was able to come out and win 15-9.
Yeah, I said in the preview that I was really hoping this was one of those games that Rodgers was going to be able to, pull together towards the end and, pull out a win.
3 interceptions on the day.
Rodgers had 3 picks on the day. 2 of them were in the end zone. All of them were his fault. There wasn't a single one that you couldn't blame on him. I mean, I'm sure if you're a fan, you'll find a reason to try to blame it on the player's helmet or whoever. But he just made a bunch of bad throws. The only guy who did look good in this game was Allen Lazard. He had a good stat line. He did pretty well. But Green Bay just they looked bad. And Detroit was able to come out and
Detroit didn't look good.
No, but they were able to come out and keep themselves in the game, ahead of the game. Rodgers was in position to make one of these, comeback drives towards the end, and this team just couldn't get it together.
It's probably one of the ugliest stat lines you'll see in a long time. Jared Goff played a god-awful game. Aaron Rodgers played a god-awful game. The teams weren't running well. This was just a real ugly stat line to watch.
Yeah.
It wasn't really that exciting of a game other than the turnovers that you got to see.
Yeah, no, there wasn't too many people doing too much over there. But again, still football, still disappointing.
What's the future hold for Green Bay?
I think it's probably it. The problem is, I was reading some stuff about Rodgers' contract. And the thing is if he decides to retire, then they're good. They still have to take a cap hit for next year. It's like $20 million, which isn't bad. I mean, compared to the rest of the numbers on some of these other situations. If they get rid of him before June 1st, they trade him. They're responsible for, I think they take a $40 million cap hit this year, but then they're done with it. If it's after June 1st, it's whatever team trades from is responsible for half this year of the $40 million, but then they also Green Bay would have to pay I forgot how much the following year on the cap hit too. So it'd be a 2-year cap hit if they trade him after June 1st, which is like the extent of his contract. So Green Bay, I think they probably should never really resign him to begin with. They should have found a suitable team. He probably should have went. He probably should have went to
say
Denver.
that now, but
Yeah, he
you're
probably
talking
should have
about
went to
a
Denver.
back-to-back MVP.
Yeah, but he probably should have went to Denver. Probably would have been better for him than Russ, and they would have been a different situation. But at this point, I think you're just trying to play. You got to play. You're playing for dignity a little bit if you're Aaron Rodgers, because and you can't at this point you can't keep blaming it on everybody else. The backfield, they had a bad running game. They rushed for 20 carries and they had less than I think 60 yards between the two of them, between Dillon and Jones. There wasn't a lot again besides Lazard. Nothing really going on Green Bay's side. Detroit did okay even without Hawkinson. You were wondering how he was going to wind up. Things were going to turn out, but defense. Again 3 picks. Aiden Hutchinson. Fucking first round pick this year. Having an amazing year. I think towards the end of the season, it's going to be him and Sauce. Are those 2 defensive rookie of the years you're going to have to really consider. Not that there's some guys doing well, but the numbers that these 2 guys have managed to put up so far statistically are better than some of the pros. And, we'll talk about it later, but Sauce still hasn't given up a touchdown. We'll actually be talking about it in a minute. But that's pretty much it for this game. Our next game was another heartbreaker. Another 20-17 game. We actually have 4 of these this week, which were all tie games going into late into the fourth quarter, and one on field goals. But Buffalo and the Jets. Buffalo's lost this game. Lost this game late. It was 20-17. Buffalo came out pretty aggressively to start. Jefferson had Diggs had a great. First half, he caught 5 balls for 93 yards and then didn't get a single pass in the second half. They shut him down. Sauce was able to pick off Allen at one point. Allen didn't have a single throwing touchdown. He did rush for 2 in this game. From what I hear reports, he's got a UCL, potential UCL injury. They're going to be looking to see.
I believe it's in his elbow.
Yeah, how serious. You saw him wincing during the game if you watched it later in the fourth quarter. He'd taken a hit. And he was definitely, there's definitely something going on there.
Well, the big news on Allen is we have to wait and see if he's going to require surgery or not. They don't think he's going to need surgery right now, but he's going in for a second opinion. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't need surgery, he should be out probably a month or 2 weeks it could be up to 2 months. And
he's a tough young kid. I think you're probably looking at more like, lower end of that, but either way. We'll see what happens. Who's their backup over there?
I honestly don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know either, man. It's a tough one. But the Jets came out. They played good offense. They played good defense. You had the rookie Wilson over there, the receiver. He caught 8 passes for 92 yards.
James Robinson was able to have a touchdown in his Jets debut.
Yeah. These guys, Michael Carter carried most of the load, but Robinson on the plays he got, he did his best. He looked good. He averaged almost 4 yards a carry. He had the goal line score.
With the this is my question about this game. With the Josh Allen injury, and with the Jets having a win against the Bills now on the season for tiebreaker purposes, are the Jets the team to beat in the AFC East out of the Patriots, Jets, Dolphins, and Buffalo?
Miami's still a team to beat. Then Miami would be the next up there, I would say.
They're both 6-3 right now.
Yeah, but I would say Miami's more to worry about there. But again, a game where both teams, it was a kind of a slugfest back and forth. They dealt with their issues. They got through things the best they could. Again, Allen had a great game on the ground. Rushed for 2 touchdowns, but he was able to get the ball. And I thought this was going to be the game that Sauce gave up his first touchdown. Instead, he got a pick. Made Allen pay for it. But a good game, exciting game. Just one I wish went in more Buffalo's favor. but it happens. You can't win every game, so it is what it is. The next game was Washington, Minnesota, which was another 20-17 game. In a game where Kirk Cousins came out initially on fire. The guy went 10 for 10.
His first
yeah,
drive.
first drive, and
Cousins,
he had
6 for 6 with a touchdown.
Yeah, he started off 10 for 10, and then just landslid from there. He finished 12 of 30 after the first 10 for 10, because he finished 22 for 40, or no, 22 for 40. So it was rough. Jefferson, another great game. This guy's, he's one of the best premier young receivers. 7 for 115 and a touchdown. Minnesota took this one, but Washington did play well. Washington played, they had a good team. They had a good game. Heineke was really, he played tough. The kid comes in, he does well. Minnesota,
Washington actually looked really good this game. Washington came in and they held Minnesota for most of the game. Washington was in the lead 17 to 7 or 17 to 10, I believe. And Minnesota had a really good fourth quarter where they were able to come back and it was 17 to 10, I believe, going into the fourth. And Minnesota was able to put up 10 more points in the fourth quarter and win this game. Taylor Heineke threw a very bad interception that gave Minnesota a very short field, and they were able to capitalize. So Washington kind of imploded, but it was a game where they looked.
Was it Harrison Smith again? Was that, I think you had to pick?
It might have been.
Yeah, I think it was Harrison Smith again. Guys, heart and soul of that defense right now. He's such an animal. But yeah, no, it was a good game.
The next game on the day was Las Vegas versus Jacksonville, and the Jaguars were able to come out and win this game 27-20. This is a game where Las Vegas came out and they were in the lead for a good majority of this game.
Hot, dude. Adams came out on fire.
Adams in the first half had like 120 yards and 2 touchdowns.
He had 10 catches for 146 and 2 on the game. Yeah. Came out on fire. Carr actually looked good for a while.
Well, Adams actually was about one of the only receivers in Las Vegas to have a good game.
Yeah. After that, I think there was only 3 catches was the next closest, and Renfro only had 2. So it was, they came out, they looked good right away. They got up fast, but they couldn't hang on to it. The defense, Max Crosby was all over them, but outside of that, they really didn't have too much going on the defense side of the ball.
Las Vegas kind of looked like a bad team again. They had they had a good game plan to start the game, but then they might have gotten away from it. Jacksonville made some adjustments, and it really slowed down for Las Vegas. And Jacksonville just looked like a slugfest type of game for their team. They just had to keep throwing punches. Eventually, a couple would land until they could wear Las Vegas down and take the lead. Yeah.
Etienne had another good game.
Yeah, Etienne rushed over 20 times.
Yeah, 28 carries for 109 and 2 touchdowns. So he came out, he did his job.
Christian Kirk quietly had another good day.
Yep. Yeah, these guys, they put together a good team over there. They're looking okay, I mean.
And they're looking forward to next season now with Calvin Ridley coming into the lineup.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They've got stuff, they've got definitely some pieces over there. They're going to be, they might be a playoff team by next season. Who knows? I don't think this year, but, Jacksonville might have a little something to root for.
A little thing to say about Las Vegas. I thought this story was funny. About a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, Jeff Saturday, it was during the Saints game when Las Vegas got shut out by the Saints.
Yep.
He tweeted, "These Raiders look bad." And then 2 weeks later, he's named head coach of the Colts, and his first game as a head coach is against Las Vegas this week coming up.
That's funny.
So I just think it's crazy how things worked out that way.
Well, it's funny how things work out. But that's the last of our 1 p.m. games. The 4 p.m. game, we had 2 4 p.m. games. Obviously, the docket was a little short with the 6 bye teams, so there's only 2 4 p.m. games. First one was Seattle and Arizona. I think if you watch sports, this one went the way that most people thought it was going to go. Seattle beat them 31-21. Geno came out. He's been the quarterback he's been all year over there for them, which isn't the quarterback he's been his career. But maybe something in the water in the offseason. I don't know what's going on, but maybe he's on the gummy bear diet that DK's on, but either way, there's something's working over there.
This Seattle team right here reminds me of the Minnesota team that had Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, and their quarterback was Case Keenum.
Oh.
That's what this Seattle team reminds me of. Geno Smith playing a great season. Case Keenum had a great year that year when they went to the NFC Championship. Yep. But it's just one of those things where that whole year that Minnesota played really well, I just kept waiting for it to stop because it's Case Keenum at quarterback.
Well,
and this year, I just keep waiting for this run because Seattle's playing real good ball. But I just keep waiting for it to not be because Geno Smith's not this guy. I
Yeah,
don't
but it's
care.
not just Geno. I mean, the thing is, the rookie Walker over there, another great game, 26 carries, 109. Another 200 touchdowns. The receiving core was solid. You had Fant, Lockett, and DK all catch 5 balls. DK and Lockett both had touchdowns. Fant led in yards with 96. The team is playing well.
I get it. Minnesota was playing well, but I don't know. I've got this thought. I mean, it's like, come on, it's Geno. Seattle's not going to be this good. At the end of the day, they still have Geno Smith, the ex-New York Jets quarterback, which for any football fan knows that means you're pretty bad if you play for the Jets typically.
Hopkins was quiet in this game.
He did well.
He only had 3 catches for 40 yards. He was a pretty quiet game for him. And then Robbie Anderson caught his first pass in Arizona. He's on the stat board officially at 1 reception on 5 targets for -4 yards. I don't know if that trade worked out for them.
I mean, it didn't work out for anybody.
Yeah, it is what it is, but...
And then our second of the 4 o'clock games,
Yeah.
we had the LA Rams at Tampa Bay, in which this was another really ugly game where Rams fans and Bucs fans haven't really had much to be excited about. Their offenses have been playing god-awful. But it was real exciting at the end of this game because we got to see another Tom Brady comeback. Something that Tom Brady is like the only guy who could do it like this. He's just fantastic.
We had a really good game here. A few guys...
That was a boring game.
The Rams lost. Cooper Kupp had 8 catches for 127 and a touchdown. So the Rams, but there's outside of that connection, there's nothing else firing over there right now consistently.
Can you check to see if it's still recording?
Nothing else firing over there consistently at all. You had Brady. See, Mike Evans. He's obviously their best target over there. He's the most reliable guy. But at the same time, if you're watching, Mike Evans is dropping a lot more balls than Mike Evans usually drops. He's catching plenty. The thing is, when you catch 11 balls, people tend to forget you drop 3 or 4, unless like one of them is a wide open touchdown pass, which he's done twice now and back to back. He's done once in each game, the last 2 games. And it's just a shame to watch because they could have probably taken a lot of stress off him if this guy could keep his hands on the ball a little better. But Julio had a few good catches. The running game's still pretty much absent over there. Fournette has his little pops here and there, but they don't really have a solid running game over there to work with. But Brady was able to do,
that last drive was beautiful.
Tampa Bay hasn't really got to see this in a while, and I think the fans needed it. I think the NFL needed it to remember who these guys really are. They're not like they're not. It's still Tom Brady. The guy still can play.
He made that drive in 30 seconds.
Yep.
That was very impressive.
Yep, this guy came down and he pulled off one of his Brady miracle drives, and it was awesome to see for them. As a Falcons fan, I hated to see it because it put us in tie with them, but it was nice to see him, getting back to his form as a player. At least for a game, maybe we can carry it. Maybe we can start something a little upswing here for them. As far as Atlanta goes, as long as we match them out, I'll take it because we've got a. We'll see what happens. All we got to do is stay, get a game ahead of them before the end of the season. So, I hope they continue to win for his sake at least a little bit more. I think Tampa Bay either way is going to be a playoff team, whether it's, the 6th seed or whether it's the fucking, the division championship.
I don't think the Rams will be though. I don't think the Rams going to the playoffs this year.
I don't either. There's a lot of turmoil. The problems in the backfield are pretty serious. The receiving core is definitely depleted. I mean, Kupp's still. You have to wonder at this point in the season if his numbers are so high just because there's nobody else to throw the ball to be honest, because it's kind of
Yeah, you don't want to say his name again, do you?
Yeah,
Allen Robinson's just not cutting it.
Yeah, he's not, dude. It's a shame.
Well, actually, what I think the biggest thing that happened to their receiving core is they lost Van Jefferson.
He played in this game. He played.
He came back this game?
Yeah, he played in this game, and he actually dropped a wide open pass. It was a shame. But he's back. He was back in the roster actually this week. But they've definitely missed a second option over there. But I don't know. There's too many problems in that team this year. It's a shame because the defense is still really solid, but the offense just isn't, clicking right. There's something they're missing that was there last year that isn't there this year.
That'll bring us to our Sunday night game, in which we had Tennessee going to Kansas City to play the Chiefs in Arrowhead. and they lost 17-20. This was a game where Tennessee played really, really good defense. They were on top of the Chiefs for most of the game. Even though Mahomes had an amazing stat line, he was held to a very low score through most of this game. And then Tennessee offensively just leaned on Derrick Henry. Their quarterback in the offense actually only completed 5 passes for 57 yards.
But 5 of 6. It's not like they were calling on the
5 of 16.
Oh, 16? Was it really that high?
Yeah,
I thought it was 6.
5 of
when I looked
16.
I looked at it quick. I thought it was 5 of 6.
So their passing
But-
offense looked terrible.
Terrible. Derrick Henry had 17.
But they were able to lean on Derrick Henry.
17 carries for 115. With 2 touchdowns, took the rushing lead back from. Knocked Chubb down into second place again. But he's only up on him by about 40, 45 yards. So it's a tight game. It's a tight rush right now. But week 9, Derrick Henry leading rusher. I told you, guy. Told you it was going to happen by week 9 when he started rolling. The guy's
Derrick
an
Henry's in the
animal.
lead right now?
Yep. He's up ahead of Chubb by 42 yards. Yep.
And Kansas City looked real good. Travis Kelce had another huge game. Patrick Mahomes had a fantastic game.
I got his numbers.
Yeah,
He actually second most passes ever in a game. 70 is the most, and it was like a long time ago. But he was 43 for 68, 446, a touchdown and pick, 6 rushes for 63 yards and another touchdown. Kelce had 10 catches for 106. Smith-Schuster had 10 for 88. So I mean, their offense was
So, but what I really think needs to be talked about, a quick thing I'll say is Juju Smith-Schuster is starting to show up as a reliable target in Kansas City. Mahomes is looking at him when he needs a big play. When he needs a big play, it's more than just Kelce.
Yeah, Smith-Schuster had some plays.
But what I wanted to talk about is Patrick Mahomes had 443, you said, passing?
446.
446 passing, and he also rushed for another 60. But the impressive part about his rushing was he had about 46 more rushing yards than his entire running back core. So
terrible.
The entire,
there wasn't another running back who rushed for more than 6 yards. It was two. There was a guy. No. I think it was 5, 7, 3, and 4.
So Patrick Mahomes single-handedly carried the entire Chiefs offense.
And that's a shame to guys like Edwards-Helaire who are in their backfield because he claims to be a starting running back, and the fact that he put up, I think, 4 yards.
And at the end of the game against Tennessee, Mahomes ran in the rushing touchdown to have a chance to tie it up.
Yep.
Then he hit the 2-point conversion to force overtime with his legs. Mm-hmm. And then he got them in field goal range, and they were able to.
This was the overtime game, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Another 20-17 game, the last one of the week as far as 2017 goes.
Yep, and it's a shame because this one actually was for the lead in the division too. Whoever won this one was coming out the leader of the division. This was actually a pretty tense game, but both teams you're going to see it probably in the playoffs if they keep playing the way they are. I mean, Tennessee's going to have to get Tannehill. Tennessee's going to. Oh no, they're not.
No, they're both number 1 in their division.
Oh, all right. Maybe it was the lead. Maybe I was wrong.
Kansas City's in the AFC West.
Oh, is it?
Tennessee's in the AFC South.
Oh, all right.
But still, but Tennessee, a lot of respect for that team. They played really well. I like Mike Vrabel as a coach. He gets his guys to play hard.
If they can get Tannehill back on the field, there should be a playoff.
The
team
fact that they couldn't throw the ball at all,
it
just Kansas City didn't even have to guard against the pass.
Mm-hmm. Now, Monday night game, Baltimore to Orleans. This one was a little more lopsided than I was expecting, but New Orleans was also hurt a lot. It was Baltimore won this one 27-13. New Orleans just didn't. I mean, Olave had an okay game. He looked pretty good. He made some nice passes, but the offense just wasn't there. Kamara was pretty much absent. On the other side of the ball, Kenyon Drake had a really good game. He had 24 rushes for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he got him in the end zone. Receiving corps just depleted. Bateman's out for the season. Andrews was out for this game. You were relying
Baltimore's
on
run game looks so good against New Orleans.
Duvernay caught one pass. It was just at one point I think Lamar in the first half completed 11 passes to 9 different receivers because he was just nobody. There was nobody that was really stepping up, dude. So he was just throwing the ball to whoever the hell was open, and it was New Orleans. you know, they
It
came
was
out
a story
swinging.
of New Orleans could
Yeah.
not stop Baltimore's
Yeah.
run game.
And then Kamara again. They didn't come. They had nothing to counter. Kamara wasn't there. Landry wound up sitting this one out at game time. So it was just there was not a lot of help there for these guys. And I don't know what's going on. New Orleans. It's gonna be. It's one of those sad years for them because they're not really. I don't see them being able to succeed do much better than they have been doing.
I'll
so.
be honest with you, I think this is exactly how New Orleans season was supposed to go. The hype that they were going to be a top 10 team before the
The
season
injuries
started
are
didn't
so
make
rough.
sense to me. And the injuries are one part of it, but this is not really about the injuries. It's about you're starting Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton. And they just lost Drew Brees. The New Orleans Saints have to be patient. They're trying their best to stay competitive, but they're going through the process of finding a new quarterback.
And then there's the Taysom Hill thing, so.
They're like the Colts when they lost Luck.
Yeah.
Colts still haven't found a new quarterback, and it's what the Packers are going to go through unless they really want to give Jordan Love a chance.
I don't think
There's
that's
a few
gonna
teams.
happen,
There's
no.
a few teams. The Steelers. They're trying it out with Pickett, but they just lost a long-time quarterback that was their guy for 10+ years. It's
Ben, yeah,
it's not
team.
typically it's not easy to bounce back from losing a piece like that. Not many teams have been able to do it. The Packers did it with Brett Favre. The Niners did it with Steve Young. Brett Favre and Rodgers.
Mhm.
But most teams, when you lose a guy like Roethlisberger or Manning or Breeze, you don't bounce back in a season or two. And New Orleans is going through it. They're going to have some down years until they find that guy.
Well, no, I agree. That it's gonna be it's not that simple, It's fucking. There's definitely a formula here. They're gonna have to find it. I mean, but they do have some good pieces over there, and hopefully Kamara's still got something left in the wheels when they find a guy to captain the ship, So, but other than that, fucking, I don't know. I think it's about
Roquan
it.
looked good in Baltimore, and it was a good week of football. So, good win for Baltimore. It was a good Monday night game. And until the next video, I'll see you guys. Hit the like button and subscribe.